Coming up in November, there is a vote that you're going to be facing on the ballot, and it is over a constitutional convention. Every 20 years or so? John Bergener Jr. Do I have that right, John?
That's correct.
Good morning. You're all for this. You think New Yorkers should vote for this, so that
definitely.
Okay, and why is that?
Well, there are two basic reasons. We've lost control of our government is one, and the only provision in the New York State Constitution that allows us to bypass the state legislature is the convention.
Yeah,
there is no other way to do it.
And I've talked to some union representatives who are very much against this because they feel the governor is going to use this to rip away their benefits and to change their deals. That this is that there are backroom deals that are going to be done if this is voted voted in.
Well, there's always danger in everything, but I think that's more like the sky is falling. The majority of my board are retired state employees.
Yeah,
so we're not worried about it at all.
And what do you think needs to change in the state constitution?
Well, we'd favor creating autonomous regions.
Okay.
To give each region its own government and its own control. More recently, the New York City area has begun supporting that idea based on the fact they're messing up the subways now.
Okay, all right.
We'd like to have some control on votes on taxes and property taxes, and we'd also like to see unfunded mandates not be allowed without a two-thirds vote of the legislature. Because most of your property tax bill now is unfunded mandates that fund state programs because the state legislature didn't want to fund them. And
they push it down your counties and your local municipalities have to take care of this. Not to mention education, right? Look at all the unfunded mandates that are pushed down school districts throughout the state.
Oh, definitely. One of the major things about school district funding is they have to have their own elections department.
Right.
Which is ridiculous. We have a county board of elections. They could conduct the school elections for them. But instead, each school district has to have its own election department. In a medium-sized school district, that costs more than $500,000 a year.
What about the gerrymandering that we've seen? Would this play any role in that? Because some of these districts are just ridiculous.
It could. They've already changed the Constitution once to have a commission draw the lines, but the legislature can overrule it. So that would probably happen. We would hope we could fix it, the gerrymander, right? But in reality, there's no real way you can stop. Somebody has to draw the districts.
Right.
Unless you completely turn it over to a computer program, there's going to be gerrymandering. And even if you turn it over to a computer program, the person who coded it could gerrymander.
Yeah, but what about just an independent committee as opposed to... Because I'll tell you, the assembly district that is currently held by Brian Miller... was Claudia Tenney's, and she was loved so much by those in Albany. They gave her the craziest district in the entire state. It's a terrible district, and it stretches from all the way up here all the way down to the state border. You really wonder. Now, I'm getting this, and I want your take on this, John. That what many believe the governor wants is that he wants access to those union funds. And he wants to be able to borrow the money in it, and you know what that's going to mean. He's going to break the whole system. This is what the governor wants. What are your thoughts? And is it worth the risk?
Well, first off, none of those protections are in the state constitution now. Those are all state laws.
Okay.
So basically, what you're saying could happen now because they're state laws. The only protection in the Constitution on pensions is a clause that says pension obligations are a contractual obligation of the state.
Okay, all right.
Basically, I'm paraphrasing it because it's much longer. They never do anything short. But in any event, because they use the phrase contractual obligation, it's covered by the U.S. Constitution. I forget the exact item that says states can't abridge contracts. and it's also covered by the Fifth Amendment taking clause.
All right. Again, you're asking the people get out there and vote for it. What happens if we vote yes, if it passes? How does it all proceed? Is there who gets to go in and rewrite the Constitution or alter the Constitution?
Okay. Well, this one would be a convention. No convention has been called by the voters since the 1930s.
Mm-hmm.
The legislature did call one off-cycle in the 1960s. It often gets cited. And they called it off-cycle to allow legislators to run as delegate. What happens is, if the convention's approved in 2018, delegates come up for election, and because they're coming up for election at the same time as state legislators, you're not allowed to run for two state offices at the same time.
Okay.
That's why they called one off-cycle in the 60s, because they wanted to run.
Okay. All right.
So it would basically, we'd be electing 3 delegates per Senate district. Currently on the Senate districts, the way they are gerrymandered, 34 to 35 of them lean conservative. So it would be a more conservative Senate election. There are also 15 delegates elected at large.
All right.
So that's a little over 200 delegates.
All right.
And they get to rewrite the Constitution.
So,
and anything they propose goes back to the voters in 2019. So if they propose something bad like they did in the 1960s, what happened there is the voters rejected everything they proposed.
Understood.
And no amendments came out of the 1960s.
All right, so it's been a long time. The vote comes up. We get to vote on this every, 20 years? Is that what it is?
20 years.
Yeah. And
if we miss this one, it wouldn't occur for another 20 years. So it's our only really option. If people wanted to learn more about it, they could look at our website, newamsterdamny.org.
Okay, newamsterdamny.org. John, thanks for taking the time. We appreciate it.
Thank you.
All right. Very exciting guy, and he's saying vote. He's saying vote. He's saying vote yes. Now tomorrow I want to come back with a union rep. So you can get somebody to talk tomorrow. That the unions are very, very much against this thing.
I appreciate John put a lot of thought into this, and we've spoken to him before. He's trying to find a solution here. There is no way that anyone's going to allow us to split the state in half, virtually becoming 2 states.
Correct.
But they're going to say it's actually still 1 state, but with 2 separate governments that are autonomous.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen.
We have a